Hey folks, this is Will, and I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce you to this soon-to-be destroyed blue shirt, which is actually already partially destroyed because I got ahead of myself a little bit. But I'm going to go over some of my favorite distressing techniques and you know, some theory that I use when I mess all this stuff up. So thanks, and take a look. Okay, so here's the current collection minus a couple things. Most of you are probably familiar with Zefetzer. I think I pronounced that correctly. This is the Shredder, and this is something, well, this is my version of the Nuclear Snail Channel's Shredder, and it works pretty well when you've got the right components. I love it, but I don't use it a whole lot anymore because most of the distressing I do is kind of when I've got the time. So this and this, just a serrated knife, is my choice when I have the option. So it's got a serrated blade here, and I've got a couple that have it like further out in the blade, but I'll usually bring like something that I want to distress along with me when I know I'll have some time and the ability to, you know, carry a knife around. You know, unlike all of the other stuff on this table, this isn't gonna poke me or mess something up, but I'll go through everything. This is kind of useful. It is a curry comb. It is used for grooming horses. You can sharpen these if you want to, but these teeth are plenty sharp, and they do the job really well. And I think this is a cheese knife. And a lot of these discoveries are just by kind of keeping an eye out on various, you know, thrift store finds, because I'm usually looking for different textures. Like this thing doesn't actually work that well because these aren't super pointy. If I was gonna pick a favorite, it is this bread knife, because well, I'd cut it down, honestly. I think I'm going to do that at some point. But a lot of these knives are kind of cheap, and they'll flex on you. Like, you know, that's a thing. But this knife has a blade, the tang that runs the length, you know, the length of the handle, attaches straight to the blade, and like I'm trying to bend it, I'm applying a lot of pressure, and it'll give a little flex, but for the most part, if I want it to go through something, it will. And there will probably be a video at some point where I chop this guy off to make it a little more effective, but this is a favorite. So the old standby of a cheese grater is nice, but you got to be careful with it because these things will mess your hands up, and it's real easy to go awry with a cheese grater. And I don't know if you've noticed on this one's kind of rusty, so make sure I don't use that one a whole lot. Make sure you got your tetanus. This one, where the texture is a little more outward, I've actually modified this one a little in some places. This one works okay for surface stuff. And, you know, I don't think I've ever actually used this one. I just kind of accumulate this stuff. But this is the collection. Let's see it in action. Okay, so here's the shirt we're going to be working on. It has not been distressed at all outside of being worn a few times. You know, so a thing I like to remember is, for the purposes of the event that we go to, I want to keep at least a pocket intact. So I'm just going to remember that this shirt has 2 functional pockets. And if I mess one up, like if I cut the bottom out of one, I destroy the pocket completely, so that there's no chance that somebody like assumes that it's functional. So distressing, and I'll start with this guy. I distress the edges where things are going to have been used. So along this edge, one, this is an outside clothing edge, and it's going to see more use, but it's also going to see more just interaction. It's like the outermost thing. So the goal isn't to like completely, and as a note, I'm cutting away from myself. And you're gonna start to see like the insides of the garment, like, or on to the other side, and non-reinforced parts pretty quick. But always make sure you are cutting away from yourself. If, like, this is a thing that I do pretty often, I'll take the article of clothing and I will anchor it somewhere. Right now I'm using my foot to anchor it. I've got my boots on, even though I'm inside, because if I drop my knife on my foot, I'm not gonna have to worry about it being cut up. And I'm not too worried about getting this right here while I'm holding it, because I'm trying to be safe about this. And then as we continue down, oop. And this is great. Like, this is shredding pretty quick, and you can also, because there's a lining in here, you can see it'll register really well. And for me, the goal of distressing is for it to be visible by like a camera or a photographer. And like, this might look pretty beaten up for like casual standards, but what happens is that when you photograph this, a lot of this detail will disappear. Now, this right here, this is great, and that was all done with this little guy right here. If you want details on how to use the shredder, I would definitely encourage you to check out Dimitri's The Nuclear Snail tutorials, because those are required viewing for pretty much everybody that does this sort of thing. So here's a useful bit of information. So this is the outside of the collar. Now, if you're gonna wear this like most folks do, this is gonna be the visible thing. So if I spend a lot of effort distressing this, it's not gonna matter. Now, if your costume is deliberate, like I'm gonna have my collar popped all the time, then cool, we can distress this back here. But you know, that doesn't serve much of a purpose. So I was talking about pockets. We're gonna leave those intact for right now. And yeah, so we're gonna work on the collar. So the reason I've moved this from the previous angle is because I don't want to stab myself with this, so. One way to do it is to basically pin your garment down and then pull through. Let me adjust that a little so you can see the edge. So I pin this down at an angle and I just pull. And so I showed how this doesn't have a lot of flex in it. That's good because the weaker point will fail, and that's how you get really great detail like this. Now this doesn't need to be done on the whole thing. There are areas that you can basically focus on to give heightened distress, like the stuff basically falling apart. But with this, like, this is great. So let me adjust that again so I can see that there. Okay. So we anchor this down and then we pull this through. This hand, the hand holding the serrated edge, its job is holding down so that the other hand can pull away, and that's giving you the opportunity to do stuff like that. And so this shirt's great. Like, it wouldn't be actually super useful in like the real apocalypse, but it looks distressed real quick. I might play all this at actual speed. Well, probably not all of it. So that's just a few seconds and it's already visibly distressed. So when we want to hold it down, the goal is this right here, but if we get some stuff back here, it's just a bonus. And remember, like, the goal of this hand is to hold down. This hand pulls. And so we spent about 3 minutes doing this collar. And as you can see, like, it already looks pretty lived in. The challenge is kind of here at the edges, because like these look nice and clean. So what I'll do is I'll take a smaller serrated knife and deliberately just attack the edge. And if that doesn't work, we have an X-Acto . To pull stuff away. And as soon as the like machined edge is gone, this stuff is gonna shred real easy. So, yeah. And again, cut away from yourself. So right now, this isn't necessarily a perfect process, but because what we're doing is distressing something, that's okay. Now, overall, you want to make sure that your distressing is going towards ultimately a story, right? Like, what does all this say? Does this say that oh yeah, that's coming apart great. Start to see that color inside. And if at the end of all this, you can tea stain this shirt or coffee stain it or dye it a darker color, or maybe a yellow tint to give it some kind of distressed, messed up vibes. But this is great. This is a great collar. So if you are designing this garment for yourself, you can decide what pockets you actually need. So if you're anything like me, you'll have a lot of pockets on your outfit and you'll forget where stuff is sometimes. Now, if this is a outer layer to your outfit, you can basically take the opportunity to leave the pockets as intact as you need them for your event. Like if you know that you need to be carrying a lot of stuff around, great, maybe keep both of them. But if you know that you're only gonna need you know, just the one pocket, then we can say goodbye to one of them and we can do that either the delicate way with an X-Acto. Well, at least to get started. And then we can just rip. And if it makes a hole in the shirt, oh well. And if this shirt has been around for a little while, there will be a difference in the color. But it looks like this is a newer shirt, so there's no real visible difference. Like if this had been washed over and over again, the process of washing it would distress it a little, but it hasn't. So now you've got the absence of a pocket and some tears that are related to it, so cool. And with your clothing, it benefits you to be aware of what functional parts of the clothes you still need to work. Like, do you need to still be able to button the shirt up? And are you willing to swap out buttons if that's the case? If this is a shirt that doesn't need to be able to be shut, if it's just completely an outer layer that you wear open, you can chop all these off and do the same thing that we've done here, just on this side. And you know, with nice little features like these epaulettes, we can come in after and add stuff. But for right now, we're just distressing this. So these big open panels of blue that are undistressed, we're gonna work on those now. So once upon a time, I used to take a seam ripper and cut and pull apart all these seams by hand. And if that's something you want to do, by all means, absolutely do that. But I, like your first handful of costumes, absolutely. But once you've gone through, you know, a set number of distressed garments, yeah, it gets a little tiring. And that's okay, because what we're gonna do is gonna save us some time, and it's also going to get a very similar effect. Here's our shirt. Right now, I am twisting it because I am going to randomly distress it. Now, a lot of distressing can tell a story, and some distressing can exist simply because part of that story is that the setting causes stuff to get messed up. And twisting it kind of changes where those distress spots happen. You know, it kind of takes a lot of the reason out of it. Because sometimes distressing doesn't have a reason. You know, stuff gets messed up. But like these large open, like this large open back panel. There we go. And that's a big opening that we just made. And we can patch that later, or we can just leave it as is. And if you don't want stuff to just pop open like that, you can make shorter strokes, because these teeth are gonna catch. And if they catch in the right way, they'll make big, long openings. And that'll happen even with the smaller knives. And you can work the twist on different parts of the outfit. And it kind of gives out this random pattern. Now, I always encourage everybody to work the edges of a garment, and any parts that are going to be seeing a lot of traffic from regular use. So, you know, let's see. There's a lot of blue here, and none of it is messed up. So, back at the table. Okay, so our top has been heavily distressed. All the functional parts are still functional. We've sacrificed a pocket to the distressing deity, whoever that may be. And we've got all these, you know, distressing marks. And this is solid. Like, we could, you know, I'll spend some more time on this and finish it up. But all the techniques that I've shared should get you through. The next step for this, which will be a different video, this one's running a little long. The next step is the kind of making it look filthy and wasteland. I would absolutely suggest checking out Dimitri's stuff on that, because he's where most of us learned that. But I'm going to go through it and find our approach. So thank you so much. You will see this shirt again, and you'll probably see it in the wasteland. All right, thanks.